Gaster glared at the approaching goblins with deep resentment. He was determined to take out his frustration on them after a recent encounter with Testarossa had left him shaken. Underestimating the goblins, he believed they couldn't damage his tanks. However, explosions across the battlefield quickly shattered that notion. Despite the chaos, Gaster tried to remain calm and make rational decisions. He reassured his troops that the enemy's flare bombs were limited and didn't pose a significant threat. Unknown to him, Rimuru had equipped Gobta's Goblin Riders and Team Hiryuu with over 3,000 flare bombs, strategically used for maximum impact. Confident in his analysis, Gaster ordered his forces to adopt a compact air battle formation, dismissing concerns about friendly fire. His second-in-command was shocked by the order, but Gaster was resolute, believing that their Imperial army couldn't afford to be held back by incompetence. Unbeknownst to Gaster, the goblins had a well-coordinated strategy, focusing on the success of their operation rather than immediate glory. As the battle intensified, it became clear that Gaster had underestimated their resolve and the true extent of their capabilities. Gaster's associate couldn't intervene as Gaster ordered the left flank battalion into a compact formation. The tanks blocked the road, forming an almost impenetrable wall, which stunned Gobta and his forces. This strategic maneuver trapped the goblins, hindering their ability to move and attack effectively. The tank's coordinated machine gun fire further pinned down Gobta's team, neutralizing their high-speed tactics. In the skies above, Gabil's forces faced relentless aerial bombardment, struggling to hold their ground. Reinforcements led by Major General Farragut arrived with 100 airships, intensifying the assault. Despite the chaos, Gaster regained his composure, leveraging the numerical superiority of the Imperial forces. Their well-coordinated strategy overwhelmed the goblins, creating a nearly insurmountable challenge. Gobta, caught in the escalating conflict, saw Benimaru's strategy falter under the relentless Imperial assault. As the Imperial forces pressed their advantage, the battlefield became a chaotic arena of fire and magic. Tanks formed a solid fortress, and the goblins, once maneuverable, found themselves trapped. The Imperial strategy, ruthless and efficient, left little room for error, putting the goblins in a dire situation with the odds heavily stacked against them. Gaster and Farragut communicated over a special closed line, pledging to fight together. Gaster aimed to solidify the operation's success, while Farragut sought to prove the worth of the Flying Combat Corps. Despite their valuable airships, Farragut's division was seen as the lowest among the three, and he was determined to change that. Gobta's riders quickly understood the shift in tides. Realizing the situation had become untenable, Gobta decided to retreat, remembering Benimaru's golden rule to avoid forcing a failing strategy. The goblins attempted to use shadow motion to escape, but the Empire's magic jamming operation thwarted their efforts. Ranga warned them, but it was too late. Gobta ordered his team to head to the forest as fast as possible. The 600 feet to the woods seemed like an eternity under constant fire. The retreat turned into a desperate struggle for survival. As the goblins fled, Gaster smirked and ordered his crew to prepare the tank gun. They loaded the last special round and fired. The shell landed in the forest ahead of the goblins, instantly igniting intense flames, blocking their escape route. The goblins, using their intuition to dodge, found themselves trapped by the raging fire. Despite the danger, the goblin riders maintained their usual bravado, joking and laughing even in the dire situation. Gaster, overhearing their conversation, felt a burning passion to crush them. His attention was also drawn to Testarossa, a beautiful woman with pure white hair, who seemed unfazed by the chaos. Consumed by his emotions and his fascination with Testarossa, Gaster issued a reckless order for all remaining vehicles to fire at the enemy. This command ignored the safety of the left flank, but his subordinates obeyed without question. The tanks adjusted their angles and prepared to fire their deadly rounds in unison. With the battlefield set for a devastating assault, the Goblin Riders faced a formidable and ruthless opponent as Gaster's forces prepared to unleash their full might. A fierce battle unfolded in the skies as airships launched enhanced magic, disrupting the magicule flows around Gabil and his team. The Empire's top-secret magic cancelers affected Gabil just as much as the Goblin Riders. Realizing they couldn't help the goblins in time, Gabil decided to focus on taking down the airships first, despite being outmatched in size. Major General Farraga, leader of the Flying Combat Corps, observed Gabil's forces with cold determination. Ambitious and capable, Farraga sought to prove the value of his division. Having seen the end of the Magic Division due to inefficiency in warfare, Farraga knew the importance of practical, effective strategies. Magical warfare, often seen as flashy, boiled down to core tenets: analyzing enemy magic and interfering with it, while striking with one's own. Despite the raw power of nuclear magic, practical application on the battlefield was limited. Individual magic casters were not as impactful as magically enhanced knights in real-life situations. As Gabil and his team prepared for full-scale battle against the fleet, they knew the odds were against them. The significance of magic casters in battle had diminished over time, as battlefields had limited magicules, making excessive numbers of casters ineffective. Farraga, a skilled wizard trained under Ghidorah, understood this reality. He respected his teacher, but resented Ghidorah's role in modernizing the armored division, which diminished the need for traditional casters. This resentment led Farraga to betray his teacher and align with Sir Caligulio, earning his current position. Farraga's Flying Combat Corps, once undervalued, now had an opportunity to prove their worth in the operation to defeat Veldora. The mission focused on using magic cancelers to contain Veldora while supporting other units. With 300 airships on other missions, the remaining 100 were filled with elite sorcerers, showcasing Caligulio's commitment to this operation. Determined to succeed, Farraga saw this as a chance to elevate his division's status. He rallied his crew, confident that their performance would usher in a new era where they no longer had to seek favor. As they prepared for battle, Farraga and his crew were unified in their mission to demonstrate their true power, marking the beginning of their ambitious campaign. The airships, famous for their magic-canceling engines, also had advanced weapons controlled by skilled magicians. Each airship had 3 main sections: operations, defense, and offense, with 100 crew members per section. The operations team kept the airship in the air, while the defense team managed protective barriers against various threats. The offense team was the most crucial, equipped with magic amplifier cannons that allowed multiple magicians to combine their power for stronger attacks. These cannons increased in power with more users, making simple spells extremely potent. The airship's defenses easily repelled attacks, and Farraga was confident in their strength. Farraga declared it was time to demonstrate their power. All 10 magicians on each cannon unleashed a massive amplified magical barrage, targeting Gabil and Team Hiryuu. Meanwhile in Tempest, Rimuru watched the battle with intense focus, but he couldn't help but jump out of his chair as Gobta's forces were overwhelmed by tank shells and Gabil's forces fell from the sky, vulnerable to powerful magic. The situation was escalating and casualties were mounting. Despite expecting this, Rimuru had been overly optimistic, bolstered by Benimaru's confidence and Raphael's silence. Benimaru remained calm, assuring Rimuru that everything was under control, even as Rimuru's anger and impatience grew. Rimuru questioned whether he should have used Megiddo to help, but he had already determined it was not effective. Benimaru and Diablo had both doubted its usefulness. The reasoning was twofold. Firstly, as a nation, they couldn't always depend on their master, the Demon Lord Rimuru, to intervene. The Demon Lord's role was to protect his subjects, but it was the duty of his subordinates to defend their country. Shuna emphasized that they must feel responsible for Tempest and protect it themselves. Secondly, Megiddo had a significant weakness. Diablo explained that while Megiddo was powerful, versatile, and cost-effective, it could be easily countered once its method was known. Using it from the control center might be effective initially, but once exposed, it wouldn't work again. As Hinata pointed out, simple tactics like conjuring wind to create dust clouds or smoke screens could severely compromise its accuracy and power. Rimuru was surprised by Diablo's resourcefulness in seeking feedback from Hinata. but understood the necessity of their strategy. Last time Rimuru used Megiddo, he wiped out all their enemies. With the only survivors being Edmaris and Razin, there were no concerns about information leaks. But this time was different. There was no way to conceal the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Imperial soldiers and officers. Benimaru advised keeping such powerful magic as a trump card for the last moment, and Diablo agreed. Megiddo, a super high-temperature heat ray created by concentrating sunlight, is almost impossible to avoid once sighted, making it ideal for use at the right moment. However, their current opponents were tanks, not flesh and blood. Raphael calculated that it would take too long for Megiddo to destroy the tanks, and increasing its power would still be insufficient. If the heat ray didn't stop a tank, it would be easier to destroy it with nuclear magic. But that required breaking through multiple anti-magic barriers and dealing with the magicians behind them, leading to a prolonged battle. Thus, tactically, it wasn't practical. Rimuru had delegated command to Benimaru and was just overseeing the situation. However, he considered going out to help, but was stopped by Benimaru. As the commander, Benimaru couldn't risk Rimuru's safety, especially knowing about a dangerous person from another timeline who had managed to kill Rimuru. Benimaru explained that the commanders of the Empire's 3 divisions and the Imperial Guardians were potential threats. They were investigating any leads and asked for forgiveness if this seemed weak-spirited.